guys, and welcome back to the Buy Yourself Flowers Project podcast. I'm Izor.
I'm Sabrina.
And I'm Anya.
Today we're interviewing Madhavan Vinod, founder of Entrevamp, to discuss how innovation and design thinking can shape and improve mental well-being during adolescence. Okay, so let's get started. Could you please tell us a little bit about the story behind founding Entrevamp and what inspired you to create it and how the journey is going so far?
Yes, so I believe Entrevamp really started with a vision to transform education, actually. So I started off by interviewing and surveying educational professionals from across the world and understanding their problems. A lot of the problems they all shared in common was the lack of engagement with students, especially after COVID-19. So with this finding, plus my own niche in entrepreneurship and design thinking, which I've been working on since seventh grade, I decided to combine the two and try out whether incorporating entrepreneurship into the educational curriculum can actually transform the student engagement rates and also, student results.
Okay, thank you for that. Can you explain how this creative problem solving or design thinking strengthens your own emotional resilience and your ability to bounce back from stress?
I think the most simple answer is that design thinking as a framework takes a problem and it turns it into a solution. So when you start applying design thinking in your own life, you start seeing all problems around you, whether it could be, mental health problems, it could be the problems around you, in your communities. You start seeing all of them as opportunities to create a solution for and opportunities to, develop an innovation for and solve that problem. So that really is how design thinking transformed the way I saw the world around me.
That's great. But previously you've mentioned how you've developed the theory of omnidisciplinary thinking. Could you please explain what that is and how you think it would help young people approach problem solving differently?
Yes. So omnidisciplinary thinking, in short, is the idea that every subject in every field, math, science, English, music even, and every field you can think of are all interconnected and they all come from a common substrate. And the reason why it actually helps with problem solving and design thinking, the reason why it's amazing for entrepreneurs is that it allows them first and foremost to see connections between different fields, which is essential when you're designing solutions. Some of the best solutions don't just come from, one field, whether it's engineering, whether it's medicine. Some of the best solutions come from incorporating aspects of every single field. And that omnidisciplinary approach to design thinking, to problem solving, it can really transform the way people ideate solutions. So that's really is how omnidisciplinary thinking, is valuable to entrepreneurs. And I'd love to talk more about whether it's the theory of omnidisciplinary thinking or the application aspect of it. So yeah.
Yeah, feel free to talk about that.
Yeah. So I'll just go a little deeper into the theory aspect. So we all know interdisciplinary thinking. It generally involves finding the intersections between one field, let's say math and physics, for example. Or if you want to take it even further, let's say computer science and biology. And that's amazing. I believe that omnidisciplinary thinking is one step further from that. And let me just stay with interdisciplinary thinking for a second. In many universities around the world, many research institutions, they're increasingly recognizing the value of interdisciplinary thinking, interdisciplinary applications in fields. And there's a reason for it. When you are able to, find those intersections between two different fields, biology and, computing, you get, neurobiological computing, for example. You get all these very innovative fields. And especially in the 21st century, when we're trying to solve problems like global warming, climate change, the mental health crises, and all these various problems that the world faces. It's important to be able to see these intersections between fields. Now, what omnidisciplinary thinking is, it takes us one step further. It doesn't just stop with the intersection between two, three, even six or seven fields. It recognizes that there may be a substrate, like a substrate underneath all these fields that is common, whether it's music or whether it's English. This would go above, some heads right now because the practice, I'm still researching this theory, and I'm still trying to prove this theory. This so far is just based on my experience. But if you look at, let's say, music theory, a lot of music theory follows the same patterns that English grammar does. And a lot of, English grammar follows some of the same patterns that math does. So a lot of these common patterns can be found across fields. And if you look deep enough, you can find these common patterns. And it goes a lot deeper than that. But that's just like a common way to visualize the idea of omnidisciplinary thinking. Now, when you see these common patterns across fields like computing, biology, neurotechnology, engineering, you're actually able to find, intersections between these fields that can lead to innovation. And actually at Entrevamp, that's one area where we're actively researching about, and we're going to continue researching about. So I would say that's a pretty ample definition.
I love to hear it. There's not a lot of teenagers, especially that I've heard of, coming up with new theories based on their experience. So it's really cool that you're doing something like that.
Thank you.
In what ways did building something meaningful give you a sense of purpose outside of grades, clubs, and competitions within your school?
Yeah, inherently building something outside of school, it really gave a new sense of like openness and in some ways freedom, actually. I didn't feel like I was, I was set on a specific place. I felt like I could expand anywhere. And I think one of the best ways this is reflected by is the fact that in my organization, Entrevamp, we have students from like some of the, like so many different high schools across Houston. And I think I never mentioned it, but I'm from Houston. So we have, students from so many different parts of Houston. So it's not bound to a single school and a single location. And I feel like that ability to scale an organization internationally, it really gives a new sense of freedom. But I think beyond that, there's also a purpose behind Entrevamp. And that purpose is to transform the way students learn and to transform the way students design and solve problems and start businesses. We're tackling a lot of problems in one. And I feel like that really invigorates me, at least. It really invigorates me whenever I face challenges, whether it's in school, whether it's in, some of the other extracurriculars I do. I always can fall back to that mindset that, I'm leading an organization with a purpose to help thousands of students and hopefully millions of students in the not so distant future.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Just leading off of what you're talking about, especially about purpose, and purpose being your main motivator to figure out what your next steps are. What advice would you give to another teenager who's maybe trying to start their own project, but they feel stuck on their first step, and they don't really know where to go from there? Do you have any tips on mindset shifts or any exercises they would do?
Yes, I do. So I'll start by saying especially as a teenager, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You can do something that so many people before you have done, and that is still amazing. It still shows your impact, and it'll likely achieve whatever goals you'd like to achieve. And also, I would say, this is actually from, one of my mentors, and it's really good advice. As a teenager, there's a lot you can do. There's a lot of people you can reach out to, and you can leverage the fact that you're a high schooler, you're a teenager. And because as a teenager, people know that you have that like burning intensity and curiosity in you. You have it, even when you get older as well. But especially as a teenager, people love to see it. And I think, the combination of those two things, first of all, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. And also you have, people know and people want to see that burning curiosity. You should use that to reach out directly. You can start something. And I'll give you an example. If I started worrying about, like how I'd be able to reach, thousands of students, or how I'd be able to actually create an organization like last year when I just started it, I probably wouldn't have gone anywhere. Instead, the first thing I did was, cold email a bunch of different youth organizations across Houston and, ask them whether I could host workshops at their local schools. And, of course, it was a long process. I was ghosted for like a couple of months, and then it took me another couple of months to actually set a single place to start host my first program. But the point is, I started somewhere. I started just by writing that cold email. And I think, just if I wanted to give a specific action item to, that certain team, I would say send that cold email and send probably dozens of cold emails. And I think it will land you somewhere.
Thank you. I think that's quite relatable for us as well. The process, emailing people, just putting ourselves out there, I think I really resonate with that a lot. But, for teens struggling with anxiety or like comparison culture, academic stress, why do you think starting a passion project and like solving real world problems can help with mental health?
I think it can help with mental health precisely because of that newfound freedom. I believe a lot of the academic stress that students feel is that they feel like their whole outcome, their whole, life's purpose and outcome is dependent on those academic results. Of course, you need to prioritize academic results, that's for sure. But you need to also realize that there's so much you can create, there's so much you can do when you have that creationist mindset in you to whatever you do, when you know that you can create your own organization, you can create your own company. And I say this analogy, the majority of teens probably imagine themselves working in a corporate job one day in a company, and that's great. But you can also create your own company. And when you have that mindset that you can create your own company, you stop worrying about all those outcomes because you can build whatever you want. And I feel like that is the solution to anxiety. That being said, though, that is creating your own organization and companies, it takes a while. So in those cases, I would say you need to okay, when you are facing anxiety at the moment, I think have just peering into that vision that one day you can, be your own boss, you can create your own organization. I feel like that will resolve a lot of the anxiety because you're able to create your own life at that point. And I do believe that taking action is the number one way to relieve yourself of anxiety. Of course, there are many other ways to relieve yourself of anxiety, but I think taking action is one of the best ways to do that.
Bouncing off of that, I think, yeah, when you take control of, when you have control over what you can create and the problems that you get to solve by yourself, it really puts things into perspective. You can kind of calm yourself down, understand that there are things that you can and you can't control. That's all questions for you. Do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, I know, y'all have started this pretty amazing podcast and organization behind this podcast. So what is the problem y'all were trying to solve?
Um, uh, if I may, for us, I think it was really the lack of availability for resources made by teens for teens. Because at the end of the day, teens understand the problem better of youth mental health issues better than the corresponding adults might. Obviously, there's so many experts in the field, and those are the people we reach out to. Those are the people who we also have on the podcast to learn more. But real life experience, I think, is what we want to channel, and also making resources more accessible to teenagers because there is stigma, as much as we hate to admit it, behind reaching out for mental health resources on your own. It's scary for a lot of teenagers, like going to your counselor at your school. Just because your school has a counselor, it doesn't necessarily mean that makes it easier. And like a lot of teenagers don't naturally seek out those resources for themselves or even know if they're struggling with something because they don't have the proper education behind it. So that's basically what we want to combat with our podcast, our blog, and our new initiatives, our workshops, all of those sorts of things. But founder to founder, your mindset is really inspiring, and I've learned a lot from you today. I love the way you take initiative and reach out first. And yeah, I really think our viewers could also learn something, definitely.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And also I wanted to just touch upon the mental health mission and the stigma around it. I
Mhm.
totally, resonate with that. And actually one of my students was actually working on a mental health chatbot just for that purpose. So basically it's like a system where students in her school can use that chatbot, which is like approved by the counselor, and it has all the inputs from the school counselor and all, mental health professionals. And that chatbot will redirect the students to the counselor. So I just wanted to, touch upon that because I think it's a common ground right there. But how,
Mhm.
you can use innovation to also solve, or solve stigma when it comes to mental health as well. So I guess I
Yeah,
do have one more
100%.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask. So, Izor, Sabrina, y'all are in the UK, and Anya, you're in the US. What's the 5-year plan behind Buy Yourself of Flowers? Are y'all planning to expand globally?
I think the fact that we are across the globe already, I think that is one of our key strengths. It's easy for us to expand both the US and UK chapters, and that's something that we definitely plan on doing. Even beyond that in the future, I mean, who knows? I think our message is applicable worldwide. And I think that's kind of the beauty of our organization. Mental health matters to everyone, and we want it to matter for everyone. So, we can expand, and we want to expand to as many people as we can.
hmm I think definitely in 5 years, having chapters at schools, so we don't necessarily have to manage everything. We're going to start looking for leadership applications pretty soon, and just basically what Sabrina was saying, expanding, because the message does really apply everywhere, like regardless of country or regardless of where you are, all teenagers face similar issues. But yeah, thank you so much for that question, Madhavan.
Yeah, thanks for, sharing. That's awesome to hear. And I wish y'all, the very best. It's an amazing initiative.
Thank you
Yes,
so
thank you
much.
so
Thanks.
much for being here, and we loved interviewing you. Have a great rest of your day.
You
Bye.
too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.